they stripped him, and twisting together a crown of thorns, they put it on his head and put a reed in his right hand. And kneeling before him, they mocked him, saying, "Hail, King of the Jews!" and led him away to crucify him. And when they came to a place called Golgotha, they put the charge against him, which read, "This is Jesus, the King of the Jews." From the 6th hour, there was darkness over all the land. Jesus cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" About the 9th hour, Jesus cried out again with a loud voice and yielded up his spirit. And behold, the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom, and the earth shook, and the rocks were split. His body was placed in a tomb cut out of the rock. At dawn on Sunday, the women went to see the tomb. An angel of the Lord had descended from heaven and rolled back the stone. The angel said to the women, "Do not be afraid, for I know that you seek Jesus who was crucified. He is not here, for he has risen."
So, this story begins with the two Marys heading to the tomb after the death of their beloved leader. Maybe we've had quite enough Holy Week at this point, but for me, the resurrection only makes sense when we start from a low place. These women were all but literally beaten down. It's an unfortunate truth that most of us know grief too well. We have experienced the stagnancy and loneliness that grief brings, the paralyzing pain and the desire to perhaps crawl into that tomb with Christ, move the stone, and sit in the darkness, waiting for enough time to pass that resurrection comes while we sleep. But it doesn't. The story shows that it takes an earthquake and an angel to shake these women out of the reality that grief isn't the end of the story. I don't know how many of you have seen The Cosmos, but my spouse and I have seen and loved both Carl Sagan's original series and Neil deGrasse Tyson's remake of it. As those brilliant men have done a wonderful job of showing, the patterns of the universe repeat themselves on both grand and small scales. Sometimes we can better understand a story by making it smaller or more personal. But sometimes the profundity of an experience is best portrayed by the grandeur and extravagance of the universe. I think Jesus is a supernova in this story. He is a shining star who seemingly collapses into a dense mass of chaos. Jesus' ministry seems to climax and then come crashing down as he is brutally executed and his dignity reduced to that of a common criminal. Jesus is killed in the most shaming way possible. His followers are dispersed and disoriented. Suddenly, the life they thought they were living, their goals and ambitions, their purpose in life comes crashing down. Jesus' followers may not have understood astrophysics, but they would certainly identify with feeling like masses of dense chaos. When I dropped out of college, which I did, if you didn't know, I think I was catering to the chaos within me. I let my depression and eating disorder consume me. I crawled into that tomb and let the failure that I thought I was become me. I started working full-time and tried to brush my struggles under the rug. I tried to fight my disappointment in myself and the disappointment of others. But as anyone who's struggled with eating disorders or depression knows, pretending doesn't help. It may get people to leave you alone or to allow yourself to hide behind a facade. But pretending you're okay when you're not only makes the pain worse. Like a dying star, you begin to collapse in on yourself. You become alone in grieving for yourself and for the person you wanted to be. You lose sight of whatever light you used to have. Like a dying star, you become self-cannibalizing until you have no more of your energy left to consume. And it seems like that's the end. But as the Marys could perhaps tell us, that's not the end of the story. As is evidenced through the universe, resurrection happens. The explosive deaths of celestial bodies lead to opportunities for life. Our Earth exists because of a series of deaths and explosions. Oftentimes, we need to die to ourselves in order to be born again, to be resurrected into a new kind of life. Climbing out of our low points requires us to remember this. When you're at the bottom of one of those pits, it feels like that's all there is. More low. But if we look up, maybe there's an angel waiting to give us good news. Do not be afraid, Jesus says. Resurrection happens. Jesus' followers realized that it wasn't the end of the story. There was work to do and growth to happen. I dropped out of college. But then I got a master's degree. I got married. I bought a house. I began a ministry. Not necessarily in order. There was a time when all of that felt impossible. When I felt worthless. Like there was nothing better for me than a job that I hated. Than hating my body. Than hating myself. But Jesus rose from the tomb and told us not to be afraid. Not to be afraid of resurrection, of the work there is to be done. There is life and meaning and possibility, even when it feels like there can be nothing but more low. It may take an earthquake, and it may take angels. But Jesus shows us that even after hitting the lowest of our low points, even after a shaming, public death, even after being stripped of our dignity and worth, we can rebound into an explosion of brilliance like that of a supernova. Resurrection happens in Jesus, in the grandeur of the universe, and in the smallness of our own lives. I know that now. And I hope when I start losing sight of that, I can hear the reminder to not be afraid. That I can look up at the stars and find within myself the small light that I need to illuminate the path that is still ahead of me and all of us. Resurrection happens. So say we all.
I feel like nothing's gonna get any better. Ever feel like nothing's right and you can't change a thing. But then one day the stone is rolled away, and Jesus rises up to show us there's another way. We can rise up and live like there's hope to be found. Rise up and give like there's enough to go around. Rise up and be the change that we need. We can rise up and be holy. Hallelujah, holy. Hallelujah. Ever feel like no one cares about the ones that have no voice? Ever feel like you go along cause you don't have much choice? But then one day the stone is rolled away, and Jesus rises up to show us there's another way. We can rise up and live like there's hope to be found. Rise up and give like there's enough to go around. Rise up and be the change that we need. We can rise up and be holy. Hallelujah, holy. Hallelujah. What if we opened our eyes a little wider? What if we opened our hearts a little farther? What if we believed love gets the final word? I do believe we can rise up and live like there's hope to be found. Rise up and give like there's enough to go around. Rise up and be the change that we need. We can rise